In a world where everyone wants to speak, react, and prove a point, very few people understand the power of silence. We are taught how to talk from childhood, but nobody really teaches us when not to talk when. Emotions rise, wisdom quietly steps back, and that is the most dangerous moment to speak. Anger gives us a false sense of courage. It convinces us that we are being honest, bold, and expressive, when in reality we are simply being impulsive. In that state, words do not come from clarity, they come from hurt, ego, and unprocessed pain. What we say in anger often has very little to do with truth and everything to do with temporary emotion. Have you noticed that when anger takes control, our intention is rarely to solve the problem? The intention is to win, to hurt back, to prove a point, or to release frustration. At that moment, even good people say cruel things, not because they are bad, but because they are overwhelmed. The mind becomes like muddy water. If you try to see clearly or act decisively, you will only make it worse. Silence in that moment is not avoidance, it is emotional intelligence. Most regrets in relationships are not about what we did, but about what we said when we were angry. A single sentence spoken without control can break trust that took years to build. And the painful truth is that apologies cannot always repair the damage, because words carry emotional weight. Even if the listener forgives, they rarely forget how those words made them feel. Silence during anger is an act of self-respect. It is choosing long-term peace over short-term relief. When you stay silent, you give your emotions time to settle and your intelligence space to return. Once calmness replaces chaos, you can speak with clarity, compassion, and purpose. Then your words heal instead of harm. Silence also protects the other person. When you respond calmly later, the conversation shifts from conflict to understanding. It becomes about resolving the issue rather than attacking the person. True strength is not shown by raising your voice or having the last word, but by having control over your reaction. Anger is temporary, but the impact of words can be permanent. That is why silence at that moment is not losing your voice, it is saving your character, your relationships, and your inner peace. Because when emotions are high, the wisest response is to pause, breathe, and allow time to do what words cannot. There comes a point in life where you must understand that not everyone is listening to understand you. Some people listen only to reply, to judge, or to confirm the story they have already created in their mind. In such moments, explaining yourself repeatedly becomes an exhausting and pointless exercise. No matter how clearly you speak, your words get filtered through their ego, insecurity, or fixed beliefs. Silence then becomes an act of wisdom, not surrender. When someone is committed to misunderstanding you, facts lose their value. Logic feels invisible. Even your honesty appears suspicious. You may speak calmly, choose the right words, and still be misinterpreted. That is because the issue is not your communication, it is their intention. And when intention is closed, no explanation can open it. Continuing to talk in such situations only drains your energy and deepens your frustration. Many people waste years of their life trying to prove who they are to those who have already decided who they think you are. This constant need for validation slowly erodes self-respect. You begin to question yourself, over-explain your actions, and feel guilty for things you never did. Silence helps you step out of this trap. It reminds you that your worth is not determined by someone else's understanding. Silence also exposes truth over time. When you stop defending yourself unnecessarily, reality starts speaking on your behalf. Your consistent actions become louder than any explanation you could give. People who are willing to see will eventually see, and those who are not were never meant to be convinced. Letting go of the need to clarify everything brings emotional freedom. Choosing silence in such moments is not about fear or weakness. It is about clarity. It is about knowing where your energy is better invested. Not every accusation deserves a response, and not every misunderstanding needs correction. Sometimes, walking away quietly preserves your peace more than winning an argument ever could. The more you mature, the more selective you become with your words. You realize that peace is precious, time is limited, and mental space is valuable. Silence becomes your boundary. It protects you from endless explanations, unnecessary conflicts, and emotional exhaustion, because when someone refuses to understand you, your silence becomes your dignity. Success has a strange way of revealing people's inner feelings. When you begin to grow, improve, or move ahead in life, not everyone around you feels happy for you. Some feel inspired, but others feel threatened. Your progress becomes a mirror reflecting what they wish they had achieved, and that discomfort often turns into criticism, sarcasm, or silent resentment. In such moments, silence becomes protection. When your success makes others uncomfortable, speaking too much can invite unnecessary negativity. Explaining your journey, justifying your achievements, or trying to make others feel better about your growth often does more harm than good. People who feel insecure do not want explanations. They want comparison. And comparison never leads to peace. Silence allows you to continue moving forward without dragging others' insecurities along with you. Many people underestimate the emotional cost of sharing too much about their wins. Not everyone celebrating with you truly wishes you well. Some smile on the outside while quietly hoping you fail, not out of hatred, but out of unresolved self-doubt. When you learn to stay silent, you protect your momentum. You allow your results to speak instead of your words. Silence also keeps you grounded. Excessive talking about success feeds the ego, and ego attracts unnecessary challenges. When you remain quiet, you stay focused on growth rather than applause. You understand that today's success is not permanent, and tomorrow's lesson is always waiting. Humility becomes easier when words are fewer. Your silence can also reduce conflict. When people feel uncomfortable with your progress, they may provoke you with comments, questions, or passive remarks. Responding defensively only confirms their insecurity and pulls you into emotional drama. Silence denies that drama the attention it seeks. It keeps your energy intact and your path clear. With maturity comes the understanding that success does not need announcements or validation. Real growth is quiet, steady, and consistent. The strongest people do not need to prove they are strong, and the most successful do not need to explain why they deserve it. They allow time, effort, and integrity to speak for them. Silence in success is not hiding, it is discipline. It teaches you to respect your journey and guard your peace. When your growth unsettles others, your calm silence becomes a sign of inner stability, emotional intelligence, and confidence that does not depend on external approval. Ego has a very subtle way of entering conversation. It does not always arrive loudly. Sometimes it comes disguised as self-respect, justification, or the need to have the last word. In moments like these, speaking may feel necessary, even righteous, but deep inside, the purpose is rarely truth. The purpose is to win, to dominate, or to protect an image. That is when silence becomes the most intelligent response. When a conversation shifts from understanding to competition, words lose their healing power. You may present facts, logic, and clarity, but ego does not listen to reason. It listens only to validation. The more you speak, the more fuel you provide. Arguments driven by ego grow stronger with every response. And before you realize it, the original issue is forgotten. What remains is a battle of pride. Silence interrupts this cycle. It removes the attention that ego desperately seeks. When you choose not to react, you deny the conflict its energy. This is not submission, it is awareness. You recognize that engaging further will not lead to resolution, only escalation. Silence in this moment becomes a conscious choice to rise above the noise. Responding out of ego often leads to regret. The satisfaction of proving a point is short-lived, but the consequences of damaged relationships can last long. Silence protects those relationships by preventing unnecessary wounds. It allows space for reflection, both for you and the other person. Sometimes, the pause itself becomes a mirror, making people realize the futility of the argument. Choosing silence also strengthens inner maturity. It shows that your sense of worth is not dependent on external validation or verbal victories. You do not need to explain yourself to everyone, nor do you need to respond to every challenge. Your calm becomes your strength, and your restraint becomes your dignity. In a world that glorifies loud opinions and constant reactions, silence stands out as rare wisdom. It requires self-control, patience, and emotional awareness. When you resist the urge to respond, you protect your mental peace and conserve your energy for things that truly matter. Silence, in ego-driven moments, is not about losing a debate. It is about winning over yourself. Not every situation can be healed with words. Sometimes, words that are meant to explain, correct, or defend only deepen the wound. In moments where peace is fragile, even a well-intended sentence can become a spark. When emotions are sensitive and hearts are vulnerable, silence often becomes the safest bridge between conflict and calm. Many arguments do not begin because of real problems, but because of tone, timing, or misunderstood intention. You may be right, but being right at the cost of peace can be a heavy price to pay. When you sense that speaking will only escalate tension, silence becomes an act of wisdom. It allows space for emotions to cool and for perspective to return. Words have power, but that power can either heal or harm. When spoken without awareness, they can reopen old wounds, revive past mistakes, and create new misunderstandings. Silence prevents unnecessary damage. It gives the situation time to settle and protects relationships from impulsive reactions that cannot be undone. Choosing peace over words does not mean suppressing your feelings. It means respecting the moment. There is a time to speak and a time to pause. Silence gives you the opportunity to observe rather than react, to understand rather than accuse. In that pause, clarity often emerges naturally. Silence also shifts the focus inward. Instead of trying to control the situation through words, you begin to manage your own emotion. This inner control is the foundation of emotional maturity. When you stop reacting impulsively, you become less affected by external chaos. In relationships, silence can sometimes communicate care more deeply than words. It shows that you value harmony over victory and understanding over dominance. It reassures the other person that the relationship matters more than the argument. Over time, this creates trust and emotional safety. Peace is delicate, and once broken, it takes effort to restore. Silence acts as a safeguard. It prevents unnecessary conflicts, reduces emotional exhaustion, and preserves mental balance. When words threaten to disturb harmony rather than restore it, choosing silence becomes an act of strength. Awareness and inner discipline. Life speaks in many ways, but most of us are too busy talking to notice. We are quick to label experiences as good or bad, success or failure, without pausing to understand what they are trying to teach us. In moments of difficulty, confusion, or change, silence becomes the doorway to awareness. When you stop filling the space with opinions and reactions, you create room for insight. Listening to life requires humility. It means accepting that not everything needs an immediate answer or explanation. Sometimes events unfold not to be questioned, but to be observed. Silence helps you notice patterns, lessons, and signals that constant noise would otherwise drown out. In stillness, you begin to understand yourself more clearly. Many people try to control life through words, complaints, justifications, or endless analysis. But life does not respond to arguments, it responds to growth. When you remain silent and attentive, you allow experiences to shape you naturally. Every challenge carries a message, and silence helps you receive it without resistance. Silence also strengthens patience. Instead of reacting impulsively, you learn to wait, to watch, and to reflect. This patience builds resilience and emotional balance. You realize that clarity often comes with time, not force. By listening more and speaking less, You align yourself with the rhythm of life rather than struggling against it. In silence, intuition becomes stronger. When the mind is calm, inner guidance becomes clearer. You begin to trust subtle feelings and insights that were previously ignored. Silence connects you to a deeper sense of awareness that goes beyond logic and reasoning. Life's lessons are rarely loud. They appear quietly through repeated situations, gentle warnings, and small realizations. If you are constantly speaking, reacting, or explaining, these lessons pass unnoticed. Silence allows you to pause and learn rather than repeat the same mistakes. When you listen to life instead of arguing with it, growth becomes inevitable. Silence transforms experiences into wisdom and challenges into teachers. By choosing to be quiet and attentive, you give life the space to guide you, shape you, and reveal what truly matters. As we move forward in life, let us remember that silence is not about fear, suppression, or weakness. It is about awareness, maturity, and self-mastery.